Welcome to the Science of Getting Rich for Women podcast, where we unlock the secrets to wealth and prosperity. I'm your host, Jessica Marie, a radical money coach.
And I'm Amy Bell, master designer, brand consultant, and founder of White Lightning Communications.
Together, we'll dive deep into the scientific principles of wealth outlined in the Science of Getting Rich, ensuring financial abundance with mathematical certainty.
Join us for real, empowering conversations about money, wealth, and the mindset shifts needed for true prosperity.
Whether you're ready to rise up or already on your journey to riches, tune in weekly for insights that will elevate your wealth consciousness.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad we do this on Friday because I am always in the best energy on Friday. And you know what? It was raining here and now the sun's out. So I'm even in better energy.
Oh, no, we've still got rain, but.
Oh, well, guess what? The sunshine is moving your way, Amy. It's moving your way. Okay. So probably in a couple
my way, Jessica.
Oh my gosh. Today we are talking about chapter 6. And ladies, if you are new to our world and you haven't been following along, what we're doing here on the Science of Getting Rich for Women podcast is a live show and also a podcast where, we're diving deep into the principles in this book right here, The Science of Getting Rich for Women. Originally written 114 years ago, but I recently, relatively recently discovered it. Amy's known it for quite a long time. And the principles in this book, we are studying, we are integrating, and we are showing you how your desire for riches is literally your destiny. And we're going to share with you every single week the ways in which you can realize wealth in your real life. And today we're talking about chapter 6, how riches come to you. I couldn't be more excited to talk about this particular chapter because it literally encapsulates the whole framework for how riches come to you. And that's exactly what it is. It comes to you. Your destiny comes to you when you live and act in a certain way, right, Amy?
Yeah, 100%. I was just thinking about what does a radical money coach and a master designer and brand consultant, this is not a joke. Like, I'm not going to say, two people go into a bar. No, I'm thinking like, how did those two people come together and do this podcast? Because, you would think it would be two money coaches or, two people that are into the law of attraction, which we are. But riches, yes, I love the fact that we're talking about money and we're giving women permission to talk about money and to attract massive amounts of wealth, which is, a little bit difficult for women to say. But I also want to acknowledge that the riches have come to me in the form of you, Jessica, and that that prior to me, discovering this book with you and designing it and rewriting it as a female-centric kind of book, I feel that this relationship that we've got going on is like a rich relationship. We're sharing our views. We're, calling in the riches. We're talking about this to women. And so I just wanted to thank you for inviting me into this conversation because, there's a lot of people out there that believe in this stuff, but I think opening it up to two people from two different areas of life, two industries is a neat perspective.
Oh my gosh. Amy, I can't imagine doing this with anyone else. You are the yin to my yang. I mean, you complete me, girl. You've got the bubbly, funny personality. And like, I'm kind of a little bit more, serious and methodical, some would say at times. So I think you balance me out perfectly. I love to laugh and you are funny. So it's a match made in heaven.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Um,
So let's get into this one, how riches come to you. We've got some stories. We've got some like from the book, as well as personal stories about how these riches find us and in the different ways that it does find us. So this is going to be an interesting combo. It's not, one of the chapters that I reread over and over, like I did with chapter 4. However, I think it needs to be the beginning of the conversation about, okay, yeah, we get it. There's this formless substance, but how do we bring it into our vortex?
Yes. And so the chapter opens up with this idea. And again, the whole book is about ideas, right? Ideas are everything. And if you are open to considering, contemplating, receiving, integrating the ideas in this book, you will begin to experience riches coming to you. And this chapter opens up with the idea of use value and cash value. And so as we go about our days and our business activities, we are constantly exchanging cash for value, for service, for products. And so in these exchanges, we put a value to the thing, we put a dollar amount to the thing that we are exchanging, that we desire. And so I'm going to read what it says here, because he really so bad English here, Jessica, eloquently explains this exchange and how it works. And if you can consider the way in which you do this and maybe do it differently, you're going to experience a different result. Okay. So he says, you cannot give every woman more in cash market value than the thing you take from her, but you can give her more in use value than the cash value of the thing you take from her. You see, the paper, the ink, and the other material in this book, it may not be worth the money you paid for it, but if the ideas suggested by it bring you thousands of dollars, then you have not been wronged by those who sold it to you. They have given you a great use value for a small cash value. So what he's basically saying is, if you buy this book right now on Amazon, it is $15.99 in the Canadian market, and I think $13 and change in the US market. Now, what it costs to print this book is less than that, but the ideas within it far more exceed that. I could charge, hypothetically speaking, $1,000 for this book and still feel like I have not wronged you, because the ideas in this book, if you integrate into your life, will bring tens of thousands of dollars to you. So the whole idea is to give more in use value than you take from people in cash value. And if you do that consistently, then you will receive riches. You will receive more wealth, because people are attracted to people who are, like the previous chapter said, an increaser of life. Did I explain that well enough, Amy?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Okay.
when I think about this, because I work in a marketing field, and marketing is a little more difficult to show the dollar value, because marketing is usually considered to be like the attention grabber. And then the sales department always gets credit for the money that comes in, right? There's always a battle in every company between the marketing department. Well, if I didn't promote it, you wouldn't have brought the money in. And the salespeople are like, well, if I didn't go sell it, your marketing would have been useless. So I think if you're talking in my world, if you're talking about creating a brand story or creating a piece that gets you noticed, And when you're noticed, then you have a voice an audience and a voice to speak to people. Then the money starts to flow in. So I think it's important to note that the marketing side of things, leaving people with the impression of increase, offering information to people, doing free webinars. This is all the attention grabbing stuff consistently put out there is going to make the sales process, in my opinion, a little bit easier because people know who you are and they're getting to know you and trust you like they are with us on these calls that happen every Friday. We do these calls and now it's like the 6th week. So people are starting to recognize that, oh, this happens every Friday. Maybe I'll set some time aside and let's have this conversation. But I think when you're talking about giving somebody more value than what the thing is actually worth, it's about leaving the people with the impression of increase, that you're willing to be their contact, their source of information, their specialist in this area, so they can call you and then eventually the sales will happen.
Yeah, because so last week's chapter really leads into this week's chapter perfectly. You know, it was all about increasing life and how people inherently and naturally want to increase life. And so they are drawn to those who are an increaser of life. And this week's chapter is all about the exchange of cash for value and always giving more people more use value than you take from them in cash value. And you know, he goes on to talk about business people who have businesses. So if you have a business and you have employees, here's the thing. You are paying your employee a certain amount. They are actually giving you more in use value. And so here's the little caveat, which he explains so perfectly in this chapter, which is, if you have a business and you are paying employees to work for your company, to expand your business, if you give them the opportunity for advancement, for development, then you don't have to worry about not giving them any use value. He says, you can conduct your business on a sort of a ladder by which every employee who will take the trouble may climb to riches herself. And given the opportunity, if she will not do so, it is not your fault. So give your staff, your employees, the opportunity for advancement, for development. And if they don't take the opportunity, if they don't have the desire to develop their skills and advance their abilities, then it's not your fault. You don't have to feel bad about that. So we're continuing on with this whole idea, which is like the golden thread throughout this entire book, which is forming a clear mental image of the thing you desire and not worrying about the how. You don't have to worry about the how. You simply have to focus on what. What do you want? What do you want to be? What do you want to have? What do you want to learn? It's the what. It's not the how. And for me, this was such a relief to not have to worry about the how, because I feel like I am very similar to many of you, which is we always think about, well, how? How am I going to do that? How is that going to happen? You don't have to worry about the how. This is what's so magical about this. All you have to do
is so contradictory to everything that I have ever learned in my whole sales training life. Like, you know, you've got to, and I'm still a little conflicted about it, to be honest, because because even though you're not supposed to worry about the how it's going to happen, I feel that the certain way that you conduct yourself is actually the how. Like on one hand, they're saying, don't worry about the how. On the other hand, it's saying, in order to make this book work for you, you have to conduct yourself in a certain way. So that actually is the how. And
Good
then
point.
like when you read the book, you'll be like, okay, well, I can't sit here on my sofa and just go, oh, like I want that to happen. So what is the certain way and how am I going to use it to my advantage?
That's a good point, Amy. And I never thought about that. The certain way kind of is the how. Yeah.
Now, is the certain way as difficult as you trying to sit on your sofa, racking your brains how to do the how? Or you just go into a meditative space or a creative space and allow the how to be revealed to you, but it's still a how.
It's still a how. It's still a how. You're right. You're right. So part of this how, which is creating this clear mental image of the thing you want, can be beautifully illustrated in a couple different stories. Now, I'll share the story from the book, and then maybe you can share your real world example that you shared with me earlier. So the one story that he shares at the end of this chapter, which is really good, is he says, I recall now the case of one student who was told that she must get in her mind a clear picture of the things that she desires, so that the creative thought of them might be impressed onto this formless substance. And she was a very poor woman living in a rented house and having only what she earned from day to day. And she could not grasp the fact that all wealth was hers. So after thinking the matter over, she decided that she might reasonably ask for a new rug for the floor of her best room and a coal burning stove. Yes, this book is old. To heat the house during the cold weather. Following the instructions given in this book, she obtained these things in just a few months. And then it dawned upon her that she had not asked for enough. She went through the house in which she lived and planned all the improvements that she would like to make in it. She mentally added a bay window here and a room there until it was complete in her mind as her ideal home. And then she planned for its furnishings. Holding the whole picture in her mind, she began living in the certain way and moving towards what she wanted. And she owns the house now and is rebuilding it after the form of her mental image. And now, with still larger faith, she is going on to get greater things. It has been unto her according to her faith, and it is so with you as it is with all of us. That's proof. That's evidence right there.
Yeah. Yes. I have some real world evidence. And when I tell this story, I invite whoever's listening to or watching the replay to actually put in your real life stories. Because the more stories we hear, the more evidence we acquire, the more it goes in and there's a belief starting to be built, right? So 2 years ago, I sold my house to go on a hunt for a retreat property. And even though we'd been searching for a long time, it's still, I'm not finding the retreat property. It's in my head and it's coming, but I'm renting at the moment. And I'm renting on the corner of a busy road. And the other day I was coming south so I could see my sliding glass door that has no deck. And I could see right into my house. And I was like, man, I'd really love a deck and maybe a privacy fence around it. This was 3 days ago. And then I can't really phone up the like our friend and say, hey man, like, can you put a deck on the house? Because it's not my house. And I felt kind of like, well, that's not very nice. So yesterday I have a knock at my door. 3 days ago, I made this request in a form of, hey, wouldn't it be great? Yesterday, 2 guys show up at my door and tell me they're building me a deck with a So here's the thing. I've been planning for 4 years about a retreat center. I have the picture in my head. I know where it is. I can see it, but I'm somewhat attached to that outcome. And then I have this fleeting thought with no attachment because I have no control over the situation, which is I can't build myself a deck because it's not my home. And so with zero attachment, within 24 hours, I have someone providing that for me. And with some attachment, like where am I going to live? How am I going to get this house? Yada, yada. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm now in 4 years of manifesting that. But with zero attachment, it's 24 hours.
So you just made a good point there, that the attachment might have something to do with it.
It has everything to do with it. And I understand this conceptually. However, when we're talking, like for women, I feel it's really important to have your home and be settled and like kind of be in it. And I thought I could live as a gypsy nomad, but I'm really feeling like I just want it to be my own place. Plus, I've been a homeowner my whole life, and not being a homeowner is kind of messing with my confidence a little bit, even though I know there's a plan and all that stuff. But here in Canada, if you rent, it's kind of like you're a bit of a lesser citizen almost. And if you have your own home, then you're kind of up there on the income ladder. It's not the case. And in fact, if you're a business owner, it kind of makes a little bit of sense to rent your home through your business that's another story. Anyway, I'm rambling, but I recognize that I am attached to the outcome of me getting this retreat center, because it's sort of like, I feel like I'm a horse at the starting gate, like just find me this flippin' property already, Mr. Universe, because I want to get moving. But then I'm fighting divine timing. I'm fighting, where I'm supposed to be at what time in my life. I'm like, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So living in and acting in a certain way we're getting to these different points throughout the book, which is sort of showing us the way. And the one major way that was just hammered into me again in the last week is the attachment piece.
Oh, the attachment piece is where we get tripped up, I think.
Yeah.
So if you create a clear mental image of the thing that you want, and you hold it in your mind with faith and purpose that it is coming to you, it is on its way, without wobbling, without wavering, and without attachment. It sounds like without attachment seems to be the key here.
Yeah. Well, in that example, yes. And many other examples that I've got as well. Like maybe someone has another example of this to kind of help us hammer it all in. But yeah, when the moment I release releasing attachment is difficult, because for me anyway, I have an attachment to certain things, like my income will allow me to have these things. But when I have a fleeting moment of, hey, wouldn't it be great? And my friend and I used to do this. Wouldn't it be great if this happened? Wouldn't it be great if that happened? And then we just drop it in a conversation. It floats by. And then what I forget is that just sent a ripple out. And in the ripple, it just touched about a bazillion people. And they're like, oh, Amy wants a deck on the back of her house. And now the universe is arranging for that idea to hit Mike, that idea to hit the guys, that idea to hit Home Depot, to have the wood stock in there. Like, if you think about the ripples and what it took, like that tree that is on my deck had to start growing about 30 years ago. And so we're playing with multiple timelines when we make these sort of requests out to the universe.
Wow. I would invite our listeners and our viewers to get curious about this and play with it. Do a little experiment. If this idea of just clearing or forming a clear mental image of the thing you desire excites you with the possibility of it actually being realized, then do a little experiment. I would invite you to think of something small, like the lady in her house who just desired a nice rug for her best room. think about something that you desire, that you really want. It could be something that you want like to have. It could be something you want to learn. It could be something you want to experience. But think about it. You know, this reminds me of one of my clients in the Money Mind Mastermind was just sharing yesterday, or sorry, 2 days ago, how she kept thinking about a swing for her backyard. Her backyard is her sanctuary. It's where she, you know, finds peace and just, you know, the best feelings. And she really wanted a new swing. And it didn't take very long for that new swing to be realized in her life. And it made me realize how powerful our thoughts are, how powerful our imaginations are, and how powerful our desires are. Because, you know, he says that desire is a manifestation of power. If you don't have a desire, there is no power there. And that power is literally God wanting to be expressed through you. It reminds me of another story in this chapter of the little girl sitting at the piano. You know this one, Amy? Do you like this one?
I do like this.
I do. I do. I because I think we've all been that little girl sitting at a piano before, or at the drums. You know, when you find a little keyboard or something, and you know you're just a kid, right? So you just start, you know, banging on the keys, and
I'm
he
doing
says,
it now with singing. I want to sing and I can't.
"That's it too. That's it too." You know, he writes, "Once I saw a little girl sitting at a piano, vainly trying to bring harmony out of the keys. And I saw that she was grieved and provoked by her inability to play real music. I asked her the cause of her aggravation, and she answered, 'I can feel the music in me, but I can't make my hands go right.' The music in her was the urge of original substance, containing all the possibilities of all life. All that there is of music was seeking expression through the child." And so it's like we are vessels and we are conduits for the all that is, infinite intelligence, seeking expression through us. So your desire to want to experience, learn, do, be, have anything is literally God seeking expression through you. It is God who wants to wear fine clothes. It is God who wants to learn, you know, new things. It is God who wants to see, you know, distant lands through you. You know, this book really touches on the all that is, supreme intelligence, God, in so many different ways. Like the whole book makes reference to God. And I've never thought about God that way before, Amy. Have you? Well, I see you were raised in a religious family either, right? Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. So someone like myself who was raised Catholic, went to Catholic schools, there was always, you know, religion as the undertone of all of life. No one ever spoke of God in this way before. And now, as a 44-year-old woman, learning that God, the all that is, infinite intelligence, is literally seeking expression through me, and that by me following my desires is allowing him, her, that power to seek fuller expression. This really blew my mind. I never thought about it that way before.
Well, because I'm not going to go into that. I don't want to
No,
start
yeah,
that.
yeah. You know, you don't have to, but if there's anybody watching or listening, feel free to chime in. I would like to know, um, you know, what you think about that. If that is something you've known or is new to you. He writes, God, the one substance, is trying to live and do and enjoy things through humanity. God is saying, I want hands to build wonderful structures, to play divine harmonies, to paint glorious pictures. I want feet to run my errands, eyes to see my beauties, tongues to tell my mighty truths, and to sing marvelous songs, and so on.
I think that the idea that God, because we in the Bible, as far as I know, it says God created the heaven and the earth, and it took him 7 days to do that, and yada yada, right? Don't quote me. I'm not, yeah, that's the gist. But to then go back beyond the creation of earth, and that this allness, this substance, this formless substance was the creator of galaxies and the creator of other civilizations beyond what exists on this planet, is too much for people to even contemplate, because their reality is here. And the religion that they've created that says God did this in 7 days and we have to follow this God, that kind of keeps order in the world, right? And so to say
or disorder.
Or disorder, yes, of course. I had a thought about the whole fleeting moment thing and the attachment piece. Can I go back to that for a second?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, because I think this attachment piece is really, really important. When my youngest son was, I think he was 2, I was at Chuck E. Cheese with him and my other son and my aunt and my 2 nieces, my 2 cousins, who are little. And Chuck E. Cheese here in Canada is like the craziest place you can take your kids. It's like got rides and ball pits and pizza, and it's like a chaotic environment. I don't even know why I went. Anyway, I was holding Connor on this little thing that was moving around like a little horsey ride, and he went limp in my hands. And next thing I know, I'm putting him on the ground and he's having a seizure. And I was petrified. I stayed calm in the moment. All my first aid training came in, and I was pointing at people and telling them what to do. And then the ambulance came and we got to the hospital, and I was a disaster in the ambulance, because then I was like, like just lost my mind. But what happened in the hospital is the doctor told me, which they didn't teach me in the first aid course, is that our bodies that run at 98.6 degrees, because that is the temperature that's required for chemical reaction to happen in the body. If your temperature goes up by a fraction of a degree, you can have something called a febrile seizure, which is a fever-induced seizure. A fraction of a degree. So when I was driving down the road and I have a fraction of a heightened want, and then I let it go, it happens so quickly. Does that make sense? Are you picking up what I'm laying down there?
So I need to go a little bit deeper just into that last part, because that story was like, whoa, like I'm there with you. I'm like, holy crap,
sorry.
And then you connected it real quickly to this desire. So you're saying that you're relating it to your desire.
I'm relating it to the tiniest amount of desire, but the desire is high at the moment. So it's like the time span of that desire was maybe 3 seconds driving down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But the intensity of that desire was high. It was a small amount of desire, but it was an intense amount of desire. It was a small amount of a temperature difference, but it was enough to cause his body to go into a seizure.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So when we're talking about the time it took me to sort of create that desire, and it was a really like, whoa, wouldn't it be great? So anytime you have this, wouldn't it be great? It's like an intense amount of energy that sends, like, it's like throwing a boulder into the formless substance, and a boulder thrown really fast is going to cause more ripples than if you slowly roll a boulder into the edge of the formless substance. You know what I mean? So that will create nice little ripples that go out a little slow, like as in creating the picture and going over and over in your mind and attaching yourself to this image and doing all this stuff. Like, I'm not saying discount what is being told in this book, because clearly it works, consistent effort, visioning, putting it out there. But we can't discount the effectiveness of an intense desire in a moment and then just letting that go.
Got it.
And I think the repetition of what you're saying in here is needed, because it's difficult to have an intense desire and let it go. So the other slower way to go about achieving your desires or building desire on something is a consistent visioning and a consistent message without deviating from that path, because it's a little more difficult to have an intense desire and then just allow it to happen.
Yeah. So the key then, if I could like sum up what you're saying, is to, allow yourself to have these desires and also to let them go. Like, don't feel like they're too big or it's impossible, but also know that if you desire it, then it's part of your destiny. You couldn't see something and desire something if it wasn't. And knowing that your desire is the all that is seeking expression through you, it is the power. It is the power that is.
Mm-hmm. My thought is maybe, let's say you have a big desire for something and you were able in the moment to go, wouldn't it be great if I made $1 million a month and I had the home of my dreams and everything was fabulous? And then you just let it go and you continue living on your life. And then one day you're like, holy shit, I'm actually making $1 million a month and I'm living in the house of my dreams. But there's a fixation that kind of goes on it. Like, keep it in your pocket and keep talking about it and keep like repeating it and all of that stuff. But if I'm honest, I find that my most greatest desires come rather quickly when I just treat them lightheartedly.
Well, you don't get attached to them in this negative sense with this like
with the how.
Yeah, like, with the how. And also like, like I've got to make this happen or else I'm a failure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, I just had it. No.
Yeah, no, that happens to me all the time, Amy. I think I'm like, I'm
brilliant thought, and it just disappeared.
That's what happens. It happens to me all the time. So to sum up, Amy, this chapter, and again, at the end of every chapter, I've added a section called contemplation and expansion, and it wraps up the chapter so beautifully and gives you an opportunity to contemplate, reflect on things in your life, because you have all the power to do whatever you want. Infinite intelligence is seeking expression through you. So you've got everything you need to realize your dreams. Maybe I'll just wrap it up with this. First, you must rid yourself of the old idea that poverty and self-sacrifice are pleasing to God. Your desire for riches is the infinite seeking expression through you. Second, you must give more to every person in use value than you take from them in cash value. And organize your business so that it provides opportunities for advancement to those who wish to advance. And then finally, what are your beliefs about wealth? Do you have any ones that are aligned with self-sacrifice? And are you willing to let them go so that God can be expressed through you? or the universe or source or angels or divine intelligence, whatever word you choose to use. It's all interchangeable. It's the all that is. So thank you for joining us today. And I hope you'll come back next week for another one of my favorite chapters. You know, we have our favorites, right? Chapter 4 was a favorite. And I find that the favorite chapters are favorites among the masses. Whenever I talk to people who read this book, chapter 7, Amy, gratitude.
Is that gratitude? Yes.
Yes. It's one of our favorites. I hope you'll join us next week for another in-depth conversation on the science of getting rich for women.
Have a great week.
Goodbye.
Oh, right. We need to do this.
The outro, Amy.
The outro. Woo! Bang the outro. Bye. Have a great week.
Thank you all for joining us today on the Science of Getting Rich for Women podcast. Your presence means the world to us.
Before you go, we have a special request. If you found today's episode enlightening, please take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more incredible listeners like yourself.
And don't forget to share this episode with your friends and family who are ready to rise to new levels of prosperity.
Before we sign off, remember to connect with us on Facebook and get yourself a copy of The Science of Getting Rich for Women on Amazon.
As we close out today's episode, remember how powerful you are. Hold strong with faith and purpose that you do get what you want, and watch as the universe conspires to fulfill your dreams.